All right, we are live. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I am really excited to have Dr. Woodrow Myers and his wife Stacy. We are here today to kind of address some of the concerns regarding this pandemic and hearing it from an expert, somebody who has had some experience in the past of dealing with epidemic type situations and a real trailblazer. So it's really exciting for us to kind of be reconnected again. I was able to meet him just this past July and really glad to have him today to be able to put some people's minds at ease and give us his insight and how we can have a positive approach and move forward through this pandemic. Because as you can see, life continues to go on, and he is running for governor in spite of all the things that are happening. And that's kind of familiar for me. I know what it's like to have a lot going on, and your kids are looking at you saying, "Okay, mommy, what are we eating for dinner?" in spite of what else is going on. So, really excited to have them today. So, I'm going to give them the opportunity to just kind of check in with us and let us know a little bit about what's going on currently in Indiana.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening and all your many Facebook friends and colleagues. Stacy and I are happy to speak with you tonight about any and all things that are related to this incredible change that we're all going through, this global pandemic called COVID-19. I'm certainly not sure of all of the viewers about how much they know, so I'll very quickly
Okay.
just explain some of the basics. The worry is about the illness COVID-19, which is caused by a virus. This is a particular type of virus called a coronavirus, and
Mhm.
coronavirus is a whole family of different kinds of viruses. But this is a new member of that family, probably one that mutated in China,
Mhm.
probably one that was spread from bats to another species, possibly a pig, possibly another animal that then somehow got into the human system and then spread from human to human. That's called a zoonotic infection, and they've been documented in the past, but the difference with this particular virus is that it's so contagious. Many other viruses are contagious as well, but they seem not to move from human to human as efficiently as this one does, and
Mm.
that's what's causing the problem. Not only is it so contagious, it also seems to affect us in a very specific way, causing our bodies to respond vigorously, especially those of us who are over 60. And
Mhm.
that over vigorous response, it's called technically a cytokine storm, uh, forces our lungs full of fluid. It causes us to have difficulty breathing. It causes coughing, and all of these symptoms come together and affect us. And a significant percentage of us then end up in the hospital, and a percentage of those of us in the hospital, usually those of us who have chronic diseases or who are particularly older, will die from it. And that's what makes this
Mhm.
so troubling. So we are
Mhm.
working as a scientific community, as a medical community, around the clock. All of us are working in different ways uh, to uh, to find ways to get it treated, find vaccines, find ways to deal with the policy issues surrounding it. I put myself in that latter group of thinking about some of the very serious policy concerns, economic concerns, public health concerns, in
Mhm.
the midst of my candidacy for governor of the state of Indiana. I declared my candidacy for governor back in July. Of
Mhm.
course, had no idea that this would be an issue for us now, but we have to adjust, and we are adjusting.
Yeah, I love that. And you've had some experience before in dealing with epidemics, as we go back and review the your history with the HIV crisis that was happening. So, Do you feel like you feel like you're kind of more prepared to handle something of this magnitude because you've had that experience in the past?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, I did work very hard on the fear aspects, the public health aspects,
Hmm.
all aspects of the HIV/AIDS epidemic in my job as Indiana State Health Commissioner, as in my job as New York City Health Commissioner. Just a ton of different policy issues came up that we had to deal with. The difference, though, is in how this virus affects the population, how it is spread. Clearly, a lot of folks were adversely affected and are continuing to be adversely affected with HIV/AIDS, but the spread is very specific in that it's blood-to-blood contact or it's sexual contact.
Hmm.
Whereas with this virus, you can get it from a cough, you can get it from touching a surface and then putting your hands
Hmm.
near an orifice like your mouth or your nose. Those are the kinds of changes that this particular pandemic bring to us that did not occur with HIV/AIDS. So this one is affecting many more people. It's global. It's much more rapid. And think about it. 2.5, 3 months ago, most of us had never heard of coronavirus or COVID-19. Now it's the dominant conversation every single day around the world.
Yeah.
That's pretty rapid.
Hmm.
And that's what makes this one different. But my experiences in the HIV/AIDS epidemic do serve me well today.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of filter in some of these questions that some of the audience has in between, some of the topics that we're discussing. So, at this time, a lot of people are wondering, um, what would you do differently than what Holcomb might be doing, or something that you would add to what he's currently doing right now in terms of dealing with this pandemic?
Well,
And it,
the Governor Holcomb is, of course, in charge of the state's response.
hmm.
I believe that there could have a number of things could have been, should have been done differently, especially early on when we began to get the information regarding this epidemic and how it was affecting the population. It just seems like as if we were slow in closing down our schools, slower than we needed to be, and
Hmm.
creating the mandate for social isolation, and most specifically, slow in getting testing
Hmm.
organized and completed. In fact, a contract was just announced yesterday, now months into this, for a company to help the state to provide testing around the state. And that's something that we should have done a long time ago. We
Hmm.
hope this company is going to be successful in getting the testing programs organized, but it's going to take weeks to months before that happens. And in that period of time, a lot of people who will want to be tested may not have the opportunity to do
Hmm.
so. And testing really is the key going forward.
Hmm.
Just for your viewers, there are two basic kinds of tests related to
Okay.
this pandemic. One is a diagnostic test. That's the test where they put the swab deep inside your nose and they get a
Hmm.
sample that they put in a test tube, screw the top on it, and send it to a lab for analysis to determine if you have the virus in your body today. That's what that test gives you information on. Do I have it now? And
Okay.
then the new test that's coming out, the antibody test, is a different kind of test, and it's going to use a couple drops of blood, or in some cases, a small tube of blood, and
Mm.
that test will measure whether you have had the virus in your body and have created
Oh.
a response to it. Those antibodies will be very specific to this coronavirus, and if you've got them in your body, it tells you whether your response has been strong or whether it's current or past. And that kind of information can be very helpful, not just to the individual in knowing what your risk is, but also to public health authorities in knowing where there's a high concentration of patients. For
Mhm.
instance, it's the kind of test that will be extremely helpful when there's an outbreak in a nursing home, and many nursing homes today are being affected adversely. The patients
Mhm.
in those nursing homes are loved ones are being affected adversely, and as are the employees. In a prison or a jail where there's
Mhm.
close contact between individuals, but it'll also be very helpful in that circumstance. And then in certain kinds of businesses, for instance, we're hearing today about the spread of the virus in the meat processing industry, and this is the
Mm.
kind of test that'll be very useful there as well. So that's the second wave of testing. Some companies have been approved for that and on an emergency basis. Other companies are in line to be approved. We don't have enough companies today with that test available. It's going to be coming on board more and more in the coming weeks to months. But those two tests are, especially when they work together, especially when your physician is giving you advice on the information in them. That's what we really need, and that's where I think we have stalled here in the state of Indiana, and that's one of the things I would have definitely done differently. I think organizing ourselves as well to deal with the incredible policy issues, bringing together leaders in business and government, labor and law enforcement, in healthcare, all to talk about some of the effects that are secondary to the virus health effects. For instance, unemployment. Now, what are we going to do about the fact that about 20% of our state today is unemployed? That number is likely to go higher. And there's certain businesses that are going to have a lot of trouble coming back quickly. Many of the small restaurants that were not necessarily doing extremely well before COVID-19, they're going to struggle in coming back. And businesses like movie theaters, for instance, I don't know how quickly they're going to be able to come back, given the fear that we know exists in the population. So those are the kinds of discussions that we should have begun very early on, thinking through what the alternatives are, and then fighting at the governor's level for supplies, fighting for ventilators, fighting for those things that early on people were so worried about. In fact, there are still some locations that don't have enough personal protective equipment. You've heard that term, PPE. That's the gowns and the masks and the gloves and all that that you need to protect yourself, especially if you're a healthcare worker or if you're a first responder. We just didn't go after that as quickly as many other states did. So that's just a sampling of what I would have
Absolutely. Done. That's great. Now we have a constituent who's asking, as it relates to children, so now that you said, we have this information now and we can look back and reflect, hindsight being 2020, just in how he's responded. But moving forward, what would you say should happen in terms of schools and kids going back and just opening up the economy in general?
Well, there are a couple questions in there. First, let me deal with children in schools. That's another thing I would have done differently. When we stopped the children from going to school because we were concerned about the spread of the virus and their health, we made an assumption that all the kids, all the school districts could go to online learning. Well, that's true in some districts, especially our better funded suburban districts, but not true in the big cities, primarily the Garys, the Indianapolises, and some parts of the other big cities in the state of Indiana. And the assumption that they had, the laptops or, the desktop computers at home, not true in many cases. And more importantly, the assumption that they had Wi-Fi connections in their home that worked and it could be utilized for schoolwork. I was on a Zoom a meeting not too long ago with a gentleman who happened to own some McDonald's restaurants here in Indianapolis. And he was telling me that a lot of the kids congregate outside his restaurant or inside, not because they're looking for French fries, but because they are
in the
Wi-Fi zone and they need to do their schoolwork. Now, those are the kinds of things that just trouble me a great deal. We do not yet know how practical it will be to open up schools yet. We need a little bit more time. In Indiana, the numbers of cases are still going up and up and up. The number of deaths are still going up and up and up. And even the coronavirus task force in the White House says that before you can start opening up the economy, you need 2 weeks of sustained decrease. Well, we haven't reached the top yet. So we certainly know that it's not time to decrease. I think Mayor Hogsett recognized that today in Indianapolis when he extended the social isolation order for another 2 weeks to see what was going to happen. My guess, I don't know for sure, is that some form of that order will be extended throughout the state in the next day or so, because tomorrow is the deadline for the current order. I
Mm-hmm.
just know that until we get that 2 weeks dropping off of the new cases, until we get enough testing throughout the state organized in a way that people can get the tests almost like on demand. And it's no
Mm-hmm.
longer the case, I don't think, where you need to be symptomatic to get it. People should get it for whatever good reason they need to get it. And then I think as well, we got to make sure that there's enough personal protective equipment at the hospitals, have enough reserve capacity. You know, we just opened
Mm-hmm.
up our hospitals in Indiana a few days ago, and I agree with that decision to open up the hospitals a few days ago for the elective procedures, those things that have been put on hold
Right.
because of coronavirus, the cancer treatments, the other operations
Mm-hmm.
for various problems. That was all cut out for a while because of the coronavirus. Now that we're letting the hospitals start doing those things again, we need to know that we're not going to overwhelm them. And so
Right.
uh, that has to be watched very carefully. All of these things need to be done in concert with each other. They need to be done uh, slowly, and they need to be coordinated such that we don't put the system, we don't put our citizens at undue risk.
Right.
And that's what I worry about, and that's where we are today.
That's good. Now, so a lot of people are dealing with a lot of mental issues, in terms of the fear, the uncertainty, losing their jobs, the loss of life with family and loved ones. So, what do you propose to do about that? Because, some people, it's like the whole world has been turned upside down, rug pulled right up underneath them, and everything that they've known or been familiar with has just been totally transformed in the blinking of an eye, and all the added responsibilities of having their kids at home and losing their job possibly and loss of income. So, what would you propose to do in that type of situation in, dealing with the constituents and their mental health?
Well, that's a great question, and mental health is a key part of this. We all saw the story, I think, in the last day or so, where a brave woman, a physician in New York City, who ran an emergency room, committed suicide Sunday because of the mental health concerns, possibly because she had the virus, and we think that the coronavirus does affect one's ability to think clearly. It affects one's cognition. And in addition to the stress of being in that role that she was in, we don't obviously know how much it was one and how much was the other. Her family thinks it was both. But that is a scenario that unfortunately I think is going to be repeated, not just for emergency room doctors and others who are on the front lines, but for all of us, because this is a very stressful situation. None of us have been through a global pandemic, except maybe a few who were around in 1918 when we had the flu. There are a couple of folks that are still here from that, and God
Right.
bless them. I hope they do well in this one. But other than that, there's nobody around has been through this before. So it's extremely stressful. It's new.
Yeah.
When have we ever been under these kind of restrictions as a planet?
Mm-mm.
It just has exposed in Indiana and many other places, but especially here, the problems we have with our behavioral health
Mm-hmm.
system. We don't have enough physicians that treat mental illness. We don't have enough psychologists. We don't have enough nurses who specialize in this area. We saw that when we tried to respond effectively as a state to the opioid crisis, which by the
Mm-hmm.
way hasn't gone away.
Right.
It's still here. That the need for behavioral health specialists was significant, and we didn't have enough. Now we know for a fact that adding this on top of that clearly has illustrated that the deficiency that we would have to solve. So one of my goals as governor will be to work with the state's medical schools, both the osteopathic leading medical school, Indiana University, the allopathic medical school, Indiana University, and the osteopathic medical schools throughout the state to increase their not only production of physicians, but incentives to keep the physicians that they graduate here in Indiana.
Right.
That's a big problem for us. We actually are one of the largest medical schools in the country, but we
Mm-hmm.
lose too many folks to other states, and that's got to change. That has to be reversed. In
Yeah.
addition to that, we've got to make sure that we are increasing the number of nurses that we either graduate and or keep in our state as well, because especially as I travel to the rural areas of our state, there is a great deal of concern about access to quality healthcare services, not just for emergencies, but day to day.
Hmm.
And therefore, it's going to be important to bring more people in. And then finally, I think we have to increase our reliance on telehealth. We know
Hmm.
today, I mean,
Hmm.
everybody today is becoming a Zoom expert or expert in Skype and FaceTime and Blue Jeans and the other programs that are available. We
Definitely.
also know that people are becoming more comfortable with it. I
Hmm.
still have my Zoom issues that I don't know all of the tricks of the trade, but I'm learning
Me
every
too.
day. If you do if you do Zoom 2 or 3 times a day, over time you will learn how to use it well.
Right.
We have many folks that I think will benefit from telehealth through
Hmm.
technologies like Zoom, because it allows people to connect with a provider who truly understands the pathophysiology of depression and situational anxiety and all of the issues that accompany being in a global pandemic like we are. So I think parents need to be very concerned about watching for the signs and symptoms of these issues with their children.
Right.
Remember, children are very sensitive to changes in the environment. When mom isn't acting right, or dad
Right.
isn't acting right, or has anxiety because their job is threatened, or they're not getting the hours that they used to, or the salaries have gone down, or they're a bit unemployed, and dad and mom are worried about bringing food into the house, as are many households today.
Hmm.
The children sense that, and we've got to make sure that we're paying attention
Right.
to their needs as well.
Right. Now we have another constituent, Veronica Montgomery, who asked, she has concern about the crime, in terms of people being unemployed and the rise with that, and, some kids being out of school and different things that are going on. How would you approach that?
Well, the stresses that this pandemic are bringing on to people are serious. And then
Hmm.
if a mother or father, man or woman, doesn't feel that they are able to feed their family, we know that's a stimulus to act out in a way that maybe is not consistent with the way they have been in the past. But those kind of stresses can induce one to take risks and do things that are just not not healthy and are harmful to one's
Hmm.
long-term interest. And I just worry that the availability of food, especially,
Right.
is a concern, and that's why we've got to support all of the agencies that are providing food, the food
Hmm.
lines, and so on. That has got to be a key issue, and I've proposed here in Indiana that uh, the government assist by facilitating the Indiana farmers providing Indiana crops to Indiana restaurants to create Indiana meals for Indiana citizens. I mean, that's
That's good.
a win-win-win, and it just takes coordination and facilitation in addition to those great entities like Feeding America, Second Helpings, and Gleaners Food Bank, and others that are providing those services every single day. So that's important. I think helping the mortgage companies and the other
Hmm.
folks that are billing people for their normal services, giving folks a break in terms of the time that they get to pay their bills. That would be much more helpful than forcing them into the situation where they are threatened with either
Hmm.
eviction or cutoffs or anything like that. Those are the stressors that bring on the
Yeah.
behaviors. And then I think one of the things that we are learning about this pandemic is that when people are in the same apartment or home uh, for hours and hours with each other, and they're not used to being together for hours and hours with each other, things happen. And
Right.
on the positive side, I've told my friends, my physician friends who are in obstetrics, to be ready in 9 months
Right.
because they're likely to have a surge in the number of deliveries.
So
But
true.
on the negative side, we worry about domestic violence.
Yeah.
We know that that's always been an issue, but when parties are together for extended period of time and things aren't working well at home, and there's these kinds of stresses, some of us take it out on the other party, and that could be a big issue as well. So I worry about domestic violence, and I think that by educating all of the citizens of the state about these risks, and by being
Mm-hmm.
attentive to each other and these risks, we can play a role in helping each other to deal with the stress.
So true. Now, so with that segue, with you and Stacy being together and everything during this quarantine, what kind of things do you do as a couple in order to make sure, you've got a lot going on with the pandemic and, just your expertise, people calling on you, wanting to get your insight, as well as trying to run a campaign. So, as a couple, what are some words of advice that you could share with some of the constituents?
Well, let me start by saying we have spent a lot more time together on a daily basis. And in our case, that's a good thing because we were
Hmm.
also both so busy that we weren't, I think, together as often as we wanted to be. We have tried some new recipes. I can tell you that. My stepdaughter gave me a cookbook for I like jambalaya, right? And I like different spicy uh, versions of it. And she gave me this great cookbook, and I've been meaning to try it out. So Stacy did some jambalaya the other day. That was really good. And so we're doing those kinds of things that we didn't seem to have enough time to do in the past. Uh, uh, we, 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 we trade off
Oh.
on different Netflix shows. We've
Hmm.
certainly seen our share of new programming on Netflix. So that's one of the things that we've done as well. And I think that especially through the campaign, one is reconnecting with people in your past life all the time. And in my case, I've been calling a lot of the friends that I had both back in college, back in medical school, talking to them about the
Hmm.
campaign, but also talking to them about what their lives and careers are like today, what they've been doing the last 20 years, and
Right.
how they've what's happening with their kids and now grandkids, and but at the same time understanding how things are in their location wherever they are, and what's the response to the pandemic there.
Yeah.
How would you answer that?
I would agree. We are having dinner 7 days a week together now.
Awesome.
Well, that's actually on occasion. But most of the time we're having breakfast together too. Lunch, we usually keep working on. So at least I'm here to prepare it and, kind of shove it in his office at the desk. But we have been able to spend a lot of time together and reconnect and work on the campaign together as well. And every now and then, a couple times a week, I can drag him outside and we'll just go for a walk or sit out, on the patio, and
Hmm.
just have an opportunity to breathe, to exhale, and to, even in the midst of all of this, there are still blessings and there's still a lot to be thankful for. So
Hmm.
just being appreciative and grateful, and know that we will get through this, and being able to talk about our concerns together, and also
Hmm.
families is very important.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we have another constituent, Melanie Ake, who asks about the qualities of a leader in a crisis. So, what do you feel are your key qualities that help you during this crisis, as well as um, some influencers that might be in your inner circle that kind of help you during this time?
Well, I trained as a physician years ago in internal medicine,
Hmm.
and that's primarily all the issues of health for adults. And the subspecialty training that I took was in critical care medicine. And that means helping to run intensive care units because it was my it was my goal to be where I was, or where I thought I was most needed and most useful. And the sickest patients in the hospital were in the ICU.
Hmm.
And so that's where I thought I should be, in the ICU. I didn't want to spend all day, every day in the operating room. I wanted to be able to go from patient to patient and do all I could to keep that patient going and keep that patient alive, and then get them to the situation where they can go back out to the regular floor or to be discharged. But I chose intensive care medicine because I was always of the mindset that as a physician, I wanted to run to the crisis, not away from it.
Mm,
And when you are an ICU doctor, one of the things you do is you sleep with your shoes on. Because you could be called at any moment in time during the night, especially, of course, when patients do what we call crash. Things don't go the right way, and you have to take some action. And the most important quality is to be calm and
mhm,
to look at the data and to block all the external influences out so you can make the right decision at the right time, not underreact, not overreact. And that quality sort of for me, has extended to all my other lives outside of the hospital as well. I believe that many of the jobs that I've had throughout my career have been the equivalent of being in the intensive care unit, but not
mhm,
in the hospital. When I was health commissioner in Indiana, and we dealt with the HIV/AIDS, and when I was health commissioner in New York City, all of the crises that come with that job every single day, there's something that's going on that's a huge problem and that you have to figure out the answer to, address it, stage your response, make sure that everybody's doing the right thing at the right time to solve it, and you're serving the needs of the people, you're serving the needs of the mayor, the governor, all of those things combined. And so I was always interested in figuring out an approach to complex problems. And so now running for governor, it feels very natural for me to want to attack these very complex problems
mhm.
that we know are interrelated. So, for instance, if I can give you an example, we know that the education system that we have and the problems of education in Indiana are significant. And we know that the better education you have, the better job that you will ultimately get. And we know that the better job that you ultimately get, the more likely it is to get a good health insurance policy as a part of that. We know that the people that have the best health insurance policies get often the best health care and have the best health outcomes. So they're
Right.
all linked. So
Mhm,
as governor, my goal will be to get the kids the best education they have, to prepare them for the best jobs they can get, and to keep our healthcare system going in a way that people get access to high quality healthcare. And all of
mhm.
that is linked
Yeah.
from the beginning of life to the end of life. And I see it as one gigantic complex problem that needs better solutions. So I'm attracted to that. And
Mhm,
I believe we're all here on this planet for a purpose, and I believe this is mine. And to speak up when I see wrong, to speak out in a positive way, to support the efforts of others as they try to solve problems, and to lead a team of people that wants to get the right thing done.
right.
Leadership is something that not everybody wants, not everybody gravitates
Mhm,
towards, but that's always been something that I have been concerned about, wanting to get involved in. I wanted to help make the right decision to move things in a different direction, because
mhm.
when I see bad things happen, when I see people making decisions that hurt other people, when I see governments spending their money, the taxpayers' dollar, inefficiently, wasting it on things that they shouldn't be spending it on, instead of spending it on the right things, that just makes me uh, it upsets me, but it makes me want to roll my sleeves up and get in there and fix it. So
Mhm.
I had to make the decision whether I was going to become one of those angry old men that threw things at the television set when they saw problems, and I or write op-ed editorials all day, or whether I was going
Right.
to get in there, roll up my sleeves, and try to make something happen. And I decided to do the latter.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's just wonderful, and that's just a leader for you. A leader doesn't run away from a crisis, runs to it. I love that saying. Now, for the constituents that are there, the kids that are moving towards higher education, what type of concentration would you recommend them going forward to kind of prepare us as we get out of this pandemic in terms of the healthcare industry or any other jobs that they might want to focus on? Because it's a disruption right now. So what type of industries would you think that they should be focusing on right now in terms of preparing themselves for a brighter future?
Well, the first thing I will say is that not everybody's cut out to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that kids especially have to find their niche, find it what it is that you really like, and then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I tell kids all the time, go as far as you can, as fast as you can. Figure out your direction, and don't be afraid to make a mistake. In other words, early on, especially, if you think you want to do X, but then you see Y and it's better, then you have some flexibility, especially early in your career. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell folks that continue to get your education, continue to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is going to need or want to go to a 4-year. Everybody's got to get out of high school. That's number one. You got to
Right.
graduate from high school, and then after high school, you have some choices to make. Whether you want to go into a trade, or whether you want to go into the service, or whether you want to go into profession, whether you're going to go to college. Those are the decisions that you need to make while you're in high school, so that you can take full
Mm-hmm.
advantage of the opportunities in your high school, so that you're best prepared for the next stage. When I was in high school many years ago, a guy like me who had a strong back and good muscles, I could go down to the plant if I wanted to. In those days, we could go to Ford or Chevy or
Mm-hmm.
Chrysler, and they could take and you could almost always, if you had a no, or you had didn't have a criminal record, or didn't have
Right.
any kind of other issue, you could get a job.
Mm-hmm.
Today, you just can't do that like you used to be able to do that. You've got to do
Right.
more than simply graduate from high school, because General Motors, they want people who can run the robots,
Right.
who control the factory.
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, the guys like me would actually put the wrench on and turn the screw
Mm-hmm.
to make the panel fit on the car, and we take the hammer. Now the robots are doing that, so you got to make sure that the
Mm-hmm.
robots are doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the differences are today. Kids need extra education after high school in order to get a good job, in order to find a career, and we've got to better prepare our children in high school today. I mean, there's a whole effort to rethink high school, and I think that's an important thing to do, because after about the sophomore year or so, give kids some opportunities to try different things. Not necessarily everybody's not necessarily going to go to a 4-year college.
Right.
You got to give kids many different choices, many different opportunities, and guidance on how to make the decisions. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's very important to me. And I think we also need to really reemphasize the importance of kids not making the decision to do the illegal drugs,
Yeah.
because one of the things that happens today is that drug tests are almost always being used to screen people for new work.
Right.
And people, well, why do what do I have to worry about that for? If it's my weekend and I get to do what I want to do, and it's becoming legal in this state or that state, and
Right.
I tell them the same thing. I'm a doctor. Do you want your doctor to light up before he takes your mom into the operating room? Yes or no?
Right.
I know my answer is no. I don't want that to happen. And
Right.
the same thing is for the police officer, or any of the first responders, any place where you have to use judgment. And think
Yeah.
about even the person who runs the robot in the factory. That
Mm-hmm.
robot has to go right instead of left. If it goes
So
the wrong
true.
direction, it hurts somebody.
Yeah.
And so the management of those machines is very, very important. So getting your best education, staying away
Mm-hmm.
from the illegal drugs, and then allowing yourself the freedom to experiment with different career
Yeah.
decisions. That's what I want our kids in Indiana to be able to do. And I want us to
Mm-hmm.
support them better than they are being supported today. So that means we've got to pay our teachers better. We have to make
Mm-hmm.
these opportunities more available. We have to clearly provide the online learning opportunities that many school districts don't have today. Think about it. How many school districts were not prepared
Right.
for this pandemic because they couldn't get their kids the necessary resources. So
Mhm.
all of that tells me that we've got some reforms to do in education, and I want to lead that change. I want Indiana to be
Right.
#1. And that's why I'm offering my services as the next coach for the state. I
Awesome.
mean, if your state's finishing 3, 4, 5, or in our case, in some cases, 49, in
Mhm.
so many different measures, I think that's the time for the folks to think about getting a new coach
Yeah,
for the team. And that's what I want to do. I want to coach the team and take us to the top. Indiana
that
is
is a
the one of the worst states in America for maternal mortality, for infant mortality, for air
mhm.
pollution. We've just got so many things that we can do better.
Mm.
Let's do that. Let's not be happy with being in the middle or at the bottom. Let's
Yeah.
shoot for #1.
I love that. That's good. Great mindset. And you need a positive person to lead that charge. So, let's see. So the last thing I wanted to kind of go over is for people who are going back into the economy, going back out, out of their homes, what would you say to them about voting? Because this is something that's kind of scary in terms of, they want to be able to exercise their right to vote, but what is that going to look like? Is it going to a facility, or how would you recommend them handle that? And what are some of the deadlines they need to be mindful of?
Well, Stacy and I are absolutely happy to answer that question. There are
Hmm.
two big elections coming up. The first is the primary election. And in Indiana, that was supposed to be the first week of May. Now it's going to be on June 2nd. And
Hmm.
in this time around, you can either vote in person, hopefully. We don't know for sure that every voting station or polling station is going to be staffed appropriately. That's going to be
Hmm.
a continual concern up until the June 2nd day. But this time around, you can vote by mail for any reason at all. But
Hmm.
first, you've got to get registered.
Gotta get registered.
Hmm.
May 4th is the deadline to get registered. And people can go to www.indianavoters.com and see
Hmm.
the information there. As long as you're going to be 18 by November
Third,
3rd,
Hmm.
you are eligible to register now, and that will give you access to vote in both the primary in June and the general election in November.
Hmm.
So that's huge. We've got to get the word out to our young people. So think about the kids that are maybe still in another state attending,
Oh,
attending
yeah.
distance learning, but they have an apartment or the dorm. There's still some dorms that are open, and kids
Right.
are staying there. But their residences in Indiana, they have a valid Indiana driver's license or state
Hmm.
ID. They can vote absentee ballots. So it's important to remember the kids, our military personnel who may just, still maintain their residence here in Indiana.
Hmm.
it's going to be important too that if you've changed your address
Yes.
since the
Oh,
last
yeah.
time you voted, you got to let the folks know that your address is different so that you're going to vote, you're getting the right ballot. So
Hmm.
first of all, get registered, make sure that the address is correct. And then the next thing is to request an absentee ballot. And that's
Okay.
something that's different this year. As I said, for the primary, anybody for any reason can request an absentee ballot. And
Hmm.
then when you get that ballot, you have to fill it out correctly. It's due. You have to make the application before May 21 and get it filled. I would pick the Democratic Party. That's what I would urge folks to do when you get that ballot. You'll have some choices to fill out depending upon what district you're in.
Hmm.
But there won't be but one name for the Democratic governor's nomination this year. That'll be Woodrow Woody Myers. I'm the only candidate that's on the ballot for the governor's seat and in the Democratic Party. So I hope you'll check that box off. And then check the other boxes off for your best candidate in each of those categories, depending on where you live, and then
Hmm.
get it mailed back so that it can be counted. It has to be counted before the deadline, and that's noon on June 2nd. So if you're going to mail it back in,
Hmm.
you got to get it mailed in time for it to get there by June 2nd noon.
And you can
Awesome.
they can do all of this online.
register to
Okay.
vote online, request your absentee ballot online, and then once you get your ballot, fill it out and send it in.
And make sure to sign the back of the envelope. There's a little spot back there so they know it's you. So
Okay.
don't forget to do that. Put your date on it and get it back in the mail.
Sounds good. And I love the way, hey, just go out there and ask for it, okay? If you don't ask, the answer's always no. So I love that cheering for yourself. You got to do it. Now, just final words. I will start with you, Stacy, as a mom, from one mother to another. You were somewhat of an essential worker during this time. I mean, it's just been overdrive for a lot of the responsibilities for moms during this pandemic. So, what words of wisdom, as we approach Mother's Day, from someone with your place of influence on the state of Indiana with the constituents, what would you say to the moms in final words?
One day at a time.
Mhm.
Take time for yourself. 10, 15, 20 minutes of quiet time. Get yourself mentally prepared for the day, because we have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of those that we love and support. And we have to pour into ourselves. So I think that's very important. And also reach out and connect with people just beyond your family. I think that's very important for our mental health too. We have to stay connected, and we have the luxury of technology where we can actually see each other like we're doing tonight. And the phone is great, but sometimes you just need to see, and you need to be able to reassure each other that we'll get through this. So that's my suggestion. Just be sure to take time for yourself so that you can pour into your family and give them what they need.
Wonderful. And then Dr. Woodrow Myers, what would be your final words that you would say to all the constituents in Indiana as we kind of move forward and thinking about, what this new future is going to be looking like? What would be your final words for everybody?
Well, first of all, we have to support each other to get through this. It's never going to be back all the way to normal. And people have asked me that a lot. When are we going to get back to normal? And I'm saying there's going to be a new normal, and we're going to have to get ready for that. But it's going to get better. I think that it's likely that that we're going to hit our apex in terms of the number of cases. It's going to start to come down. We can't reopen things too soon. We've got to take it one step at a time. And then we've got the additional possible problem of it coming back this fall. We know that viruses sometimes resurge when the weather changes, and so we have to be on guard for that. But work with your families. Those of us that are dealing with the stresses of either a job that no longer exists, or a job where you can't get the overtime or the hours that you used to get, or doesn't pay what you needed to pay to survive. We have to think of various alternatives. And one of the things I would do as governor is create opportunities for new businesses to come in a very specific area in the state. And that's why our campaign has put out a plan for making Indiana the #1 supplier of medical equipment and personal protective equipment. Think about it for a second. The United States of America was crippled by the fact that we didn't have enough masks and gowns and gloves to take care of our doctors and nurses. We had to wait for shipments from China. Let's never, ever be in that situation again. Let's make them right here. We have lots of factories that aren't working fully today to do what they used to do. And I would want our state to become the leading developer and manufacturer and supplier of medical goods and equipment, not just ventilators, but everything else that is required. We know that people are going to need healthcare. We know that you need certain essential supplies to make the healthcare system work. Let Indiana be the leader for all of those things: pharmaceutical, devices, supplies, everything. And we're ideally positioned to do that. Think about it. We are 80% of the population is within 1 day's drive. We are the crossroads of America. In order to get from here to there, the truckers know that you got to go through Indiana most of the time. So let's take advantage of our geography. Let's take advantage of the fact that we've got a good water table. Let's take advantage of the fact that we've got good Hoosier workers that want to work and who are industrious. And I would want us to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and become the leading state for supplying goods for hospitals, physicians, doctors' offices throughout the United States. Let's get Indiana taken care of first, and then the neighboring states around us. And then if we got any left over, we can ship it to other countries. But I think that's a great way for us to bring ourselves back. That's one of the areas that I will absolutely work on. And then I will also work to make sure that the companies that are already here have a reason to stay here and grow here. I want the General Motors and the other companies that have a lot of jobs here to be happy with what our state is doing with them, and to make sure that they are comfortable with how we are working together, and then grow their population, grow their footprint of employees and suppliers here in the state. That's what we've got to do. We've got to be more aggressive. We got to go out there and work to get that business, because you know what? Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, and Michigan, they want the same thing. So we've got to fight. We've got to, in a good way, we've got to fight for our position, and then we've got to lead. And that's the challenge I'm looking forward to. So that I will leave your viewers, your listeners tonight with that. And if they would like to learn more about our campaign, they can like us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or all of the various social media platforms, or they can go to our website, which is www.drwoodymyers, DrWoodymyers, drwoodymyers.com. And you'll learn more about our thinking, of our plans, our aspirations for our state right there as well.
Awesome. Well, this has just been a wonderful opportunity to have this great dialogue, wonderful insight. It's always a pleasure to talk to you both. And I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure with those type of ideals, and you're going to make it happen. You know, just looking at your track record and the things that you've done, it's just a commendable feat that you are working towards. So I wish you all the best. And for all the viewers, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, we were filling the questions ahead of time, but if you still have some questions or you're watching the replay, please put them in the comments and we'll make sure that Dr. Myers and Stacy get those questions so that they may be able to address those for you whenever we're able to get them. But thanks again for watching. And again, we want to wish this couple the best, and may they continue to be successful, be great leaders, and prosperous in all that they do. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.